Oh, I am in the wrong location, and I am frozen. Whoops, there we go. There we go. Hello! Hello! Hello. I am Almantas, a former professor, current VTuber, old man who loves old things. It is a pleasure to see you all here today. And thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And, it's Monday. It's Monday, my dudes. It is Monday, my dudes. I don't actually know exactly what I'm going to do today, and I might put it up to a vote. You know what? Yeah, let's put it up to a vote. Let's put it up to a vote. I'll put it up to a long vote. Let me just check one last thing before I do that. Yes, okay. Okay. I have one Eldar model left, and I have new models on the way. So... 70, let's put it up for 10 minutes, that should be fine. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I am indecisive. I could go either way today. I'd probably be happy doing either of these today. There were some techniques I want to look up for both of them that I didn't manage to look up. I did a little bit of paleography research into the letter Y, because I know that because the letter Y has been like the big stumbling block for people reading my Gothic. That's been the big stumbling block. So I did some paleography on it, but I didn't do any actual like practice, so it would be really shaky, and it would be kind of like below my standards. Painting, I just kind of constantly need to be looking up techniques, and it's a little bit of a trouble. Maybe I should I rephrase it? Should I rephrase it? Miniature painting. Little mini dudes. Little mini dudes that I paint. They are people, and I would paint. I've got a set of paints. I can show off what my previous ones look like. I should get in the hellos. I should get in the hellos now that I'm already talking to people. Hello me. Hello Seribot. Hello Mokaba. Hello Big Heart Little Brain. Hello Mura Sensei, and enjoy your lurk. I know it is very late for you. Hello Hoomter. Hello Grim Glassman. And of course, hello to all of the lurkers. And last but not least, hello to the VOD watchers. Know that I appreciate you. I know that I am mostly a live content person, but the fact that anybody watches my VODs is extremely humbling. And if you do watch my VODs, I'd appreciate you shooting me a little DM, because otherwise, I don't really know about it. And I've let a huge percentage of my VODs just die, just completely wither and disappear, which I don't normally feel bad about. I do feel a little bit bad about letting my VODs for all of my first two VODs for Signalis decay, because Signalis was such like a life-changing game. Signalis was such a life-changing game. Oh, and hello, Great Guts. Hello, Great Guts. Hello, Gringotts. But yes. Like I said, I've got techniques for both of these that I have been enjoying working on. My models I can definitely see quite a bit of improvement on. My calligraphy is crazy to me, because I am very much in the trowel of art experience. I think that I can see Grim is here, and Grim is very much an artist. Grim does stained glass. I believe Hoomter also does miniature painting, I think, but I might just be might just be that so many of my other Europe bros are are mini painters, that I'm mixing him up with. I'm making some mix-ups here. But a lot of the Europe bros I know are mini painters. Oh, you've considered getting into it. Okay. You talked about one of the armies. But yes, there's a point when you're working on an art form where you're really capable of self-criticism, and with my calligraphy in particular, I am deep in the trenches of self-critique on calligraphy, and so like I can't really notice any improvements I make unless I like line up calligraphy I did like last week against calligraphy I did like 6 months ago. Then I can tell. Then I can look at it and be like, oh wow, that's an improvement. But if I compare it from like a week to week basis, I'm just like, mess this up. Which is part of like the artistic process, right? This is part of this is an intrinsic part of the artistic process, and it's why it's no small part of why when I talk to people about how I interface with art, that I focus really heavily on improvement, on the feeling of improvement at a micro scale over hitting specific goals. And hello, Blossazar. And yes, Blossazar is one of my fellow workout bros, one of my fellow jocks over here on Twitch. And I don't know how much weight you lost, Blossazar, but I always like to tell this story that I've gained back some of the weight since then, but a few years ago I lost 80 pounds. No, 70 pounds. I lost 70-something pounds. Yeah. I lost 70-something pounds over about 8 months, which is fast. I recommend against losing weight that fast, to be completely blunt. It's more suffering than I think is justified for the results. And it made tape... Whoa. Sorry. Scalded myself a little bit with some hot water. I gotta check the damage on that. Hold on. Yeah, 70 pounds. Which is what, like 30 kilos? That's like 30 kilos. And again, faster than I think is a good idea or is justified. And so don't do that. Bluntly, don't do that. And the thing that was crazy about it, maybe Blossazar will, maybe Blossazar has had a similar experience. I couldn't tell that I looked any different. Like to me, I looked the same, which is wild, right? Like, I lost an enormous amount of weight, and like the only thing that really told me that anything was happening was that like a lot of my clothes didn't fit anymore. That was like what told me that like anything was happening. Like, I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, this is the same guy. Because you see yourself in the mirror pretty much every day. And I would just be like, this is the same fucking guy that I was a year ago. And then it was like coworkers who didn't see me for months at a time that were like, holy crap. Holy crap. Sorry, I need to take care of... Oh, hey, my timer is broken. Let me fix that. Let me fix that, and actually I will start up Streamerbot. I need to go take care of this bird. I will be back, but I will need to take care of this. So give me a few moments. I apologize. Okay. Oh. Ow. Ow. Ah. Alright, I'm back. I am back. Apologies for that. Apologies for that. I was not leaving to fight crime. I was leaving to, like I said, I burned my foot. Spilled some hot water on my foot, and it is burnt. And so I had to run some cool water over it. Remember, don't run cold water over burns. Don't run cold water over burns. And when you do run the water over a burn, you want to start it relatively warm, right? You want to start fairly warm, otherwise you're going to get additional temperature shock effects, which will cause further damage. I think I'm I think I'm an extremely not Batman-like character. I think I'm a very not, Batman. Batman's not a character I feel like I have a lot in common with. I have, you know, my parents were not murdered in a back alley, and I don't particularly view his methodology and theory of law and order to be particularly productive or useful. Alfred vibes? Brutal. 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 Ouch. Ouch. I don't know who in comics universe I am the most similar to. I don't know. I don't really read enough cape stuff. I don't really read enough I don't really know enough about superheroes to really say whomst amongst those characters I have a lot in common with. Yeah, what would because like I don't know. I don't know. In general, fictional characters I find kind of a little bit difficult to relate to. Arm fall off boy whose power is to detach his arm and beat people. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I am not that similar to Matter Eater Lad, but I do think Matter Eater Lad is pretty funny, especially because they bothered to call him Lad instead of anything else. Well, guess we gotta keep going. Guess we gotta keep going. Well, now I'm finding this funny. Now I'm finding this kind of funny. So, whomst amongst the... I mean, yeah, there's something to be said for aiming to be the side heroes. Like, who actually wants to be Wonder Woman or whatever? It's okay, Grim. It's okay, Grim. You know, who actually wants to be a character like Wonder Woman or Superman? Like, that's so much pressure, right? That's so much pressure, and they're so spread out, right, as characters. They're so ridiculously spread out as characters. They're stretched thin over a million different things. They're stretched out over a million different things. And again, and they're so reinterpreted, right? Like who are we talking about? You know, Superman is the classic one for this, right? Superman and Batman are kind of the classic ones. So, like, Batman isn't so much a character as he is a, like, TV trope. Yeah, he's much more of a TV trope than he is a character. And that's its own kind of interesting. But how interesting is it, right? Hello, Vex. Hello, Vex. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. But, you know, that's one of those things to think about. Like, these aren't really fully realized characters because they're given too much space, right? They're given too much and they're pulled in too many different directions. And, you know, like I said, Batman winds up contextualized in all sorts of millions of different things. He's pulled apart in so many different ways. That like he's even worse than Sherlock Holmes, right? He's even worse than Sherlock Holmes. I am surprised that we have not seen Batman. Oh, I am Sock. I am surprised we have not seen Batman in Fate Grand Order. Right? Like he feels like he should be a Fate character at this point. I don't know which character archetype he would be, but he does feel like he belongs there. I know we've got some Fate bros in here. Oh, you haven't seen this before, Big Heart? Yeah. I've got the sock model. I've got the new hotness, the sock model. I've got the new. Yeah, I'm a sock. I'm a sock puppet. I love it. I think it's super cute. I think it's super duper cute. Minis! Okay, Minis wins with 60% of the vote. Okay. That takes a moment to get set up. Yeah, this is Almantas. I love Almantas. I love Almantas. So this is going to take me a minute to get set up. Let me start. I can get some of it set up while we're... I don't like leaving the screen while somebody's got a redeem active. That always makes me feel really guilty. So I'm going to stall a little bit on that. And let's get... The main thing is that I don't have... I need water. That's the main thing that I need. I need water. If you're gonna be the king, you gotta have water. Yeah, see, I was, the thing is, I'm a patient man, so I was completely prepared to just run the vote over and over and over again until somebody screwed up like that. That was my plan. That was my plan. Just keep on running it until somebody made a mistake. One of the Thai bros made a mistake, or somebody who was in one of the strong camps was willing to spend more channel points. No, I had a plan here. And again, I am patient. Yeah, no, I've that's definitely a democracy stream is definitely just voting on different things is definitely an option. Let me. So this is the subathon image. Let me play around with handcam for a second. Oh yeah, that's why it's not saying anything. Be grateful, chat. I made sure to not flashbang you this time. And let's turn it on. Put away the subathon. Okay. There's the mitts. Yeah, we hit the Dark Souls. We hit the Dark Souls redeem last week. We hit Dark Souls redeem, which is the one I am the least excited about in the entire list. Is this Mournfang? Mournfang is the one I really need. Mournfang. And just grab all of the whites. Korax. I don't actually use the Screaming Skull very much, but I do use the Wraithbone a lot. Do not like Armageddon, so I almost never use it. I don't use that very often. Do use Rise of Rust pretty frequently. Let's grab my two blues. Grab my two blues, and I might need you for touch-ups. Probably need... I don't think I need the lead belcher. Do need the shader. Do need the shader. Yeah, I was about to say, like, I thought you needed. I was surprised that you were willing to spend points on it because you've got an actual goal for your points. So this is my second favorite of the models that I made. The homie who's carrying 2 guns because his friend forgot a gun. It's been so long since since I started these that you can see he's collecting dust, literally collecting dust. So that's fun. That's fun. Let me just wipe some of that off. A little bit of water. Enough to wet the brush and make the dust adhere to it a little bit better. Humter, I don't know if I guess you haven't watched me playing Dark Souls. I wasn't suffering while playing Dark Souls. The only time I had any trouble at a personal level with Dark Souls was when I realized that there was no pause button in the game. That was by far and away the most frustrated I was with Dark Souls. Because that meant that it was hard to, because I was running mid-roll ads at the time. And it made me very frustrated because it's like, well, now that means that, like, if mid-rolls hit, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't want to spend, like, I suppose the most honorable thing to do, which I should have done, would have been that anytime mid-rolls hit, I just put down the controller. That's what I probably should have done. No matter what was happening on screen, I should have just put down the controller, and let the mid-rolls choose. Which I did a couple of times, but, why did I load this up with brown when I need white? I need white. So we're going to start with a bunch of white paints. Pretty much everywhere but the guns is going to get some white paint. Let me pull the camera. Let me angle the camera up a little bit. That'll be better. That's a little bit more natural. I was gonna, like, try to pull my arms further over my desk. It's like, no, it's not natural. It's going to be really uncomfortable for me. And then I'm going to, more importantly than the fact that it'll be, like, at a basic level uncomfortable and I'll start to shake, I will just kind of naturally wander off of camera if I'm in an uncomfortable position, right? Like, you guys get it. That's a little bit too thin, so let's load up. And the white paints, the white paints are kind of chalky. They have kind of a bad consistency. Yeah, see, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. It's way too thick. Gotta get that off. Gotta get that off. Yeah, definitely need some along here. Don't need it on the bottom. I'll have to touch up on the bottom. But yes, I partially want to do this because I got some new models overthrown. Somebody bought me some models overthrown. They bought me Conquest models, which was a bit of a surprise. Conquest Last Argument of Kings. So I guess I'm getting into Conquest. Which I think Conquest is very cool. I haven't gotten the chance to play it, but I do think Conquest is very cool. And I was much more expecting more 40K figurines, because that's what people actually that's what people seem to be talking about in chat. But whoever finally decided to put their money where their mouth is wants to see me do some Conquest characters. Well, some Legionnaires. Oh, yep. That part of the redeem was working for a while, and now it's not. I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, so I will be doing... Next set of models will be... They're in the mail. I don't know when they're going to get here. But yes, they'll be undead Roman legionnaires. They'll be undead Roman legionnaires, which I'm excited about, right? I think that's a super cool concept. I think Conquest, again, is a very cool game, at least at the level that I understand it. And too thin. And yeah, so we've done quite a few models from this pack. This is like the 12th or 13th. No, it's like the 18th model from this pack of Eldar that I've done on stream. And Black Primer was just flat out a mistake. Just bluntly, Black Primer was a mistake that I should not have done. For the objectives that I was going for, I really should have used a white primer. And I really should have used a brush primer rather than a spray primer. Spray proved to be considerably more frustrating. To work with, because I don't really have I do have a yard at all, but it's very windy, it's very cold, it's very dark, it's a very shaded yard, and I don't have access to it every day. And I live in an area that's extremely rainy, so it's not always good weather. For doing for blasting with some miniature. It's not always good. Not always good weather. probably more thin paint than I should. They have actually quite a few. They have actually quite a few. I am going very off canon. The color scheme that I'm going for is very off canon. I am doing a color scheme based on me, based on Almantas. So it is whites and browns are my main colors. And I'm using blue trims, not because I actually particularly like blue trims myself, but because they stood out really good for the color scheme. My favorite craft world, Ulthway, uses a lot of blacks. I like Ulthway the most. Alitok, my second favorites. All right, big hearts, please rest. Please rest. No problem at all. From my perspective, you taking a nap is beautiful. You know, no need to apologize. There's no apology to me to be made. There is no apology to me here. Alitok is like white and green, and that's the other craft world that I like ever consider playing. Bielton's is like red and white, and I actually think it looks awful. I forget what Eondin's is. Eondin's is a lot of whites as well. And also, various aspect warriors have specific paint schemes associated with them. So, like, Dire Avengers are blue, Striking Scorpions are green, Swooping Hawks are a different blue. Genuinely cannot remember what Shining Spears are supposed to be. Oh, Wande! Wande, thank you for the resub. Thank you for the resub. Yeah, nearly a year. We're getting close on it. We're getting close on it. We're getting close on it. And did that go into the timer? It doesn't look like it went into the timer. Once again, I'm going to have to do another re-audit. I swear. I swear. I swear. Good thing I am not streaming tomorrow or the day after. And hello, Nocturnal Ash. Oh, okay, because it's not new stuff. That's fair. That's fair. Thinking about painting an Eldar armor mostly red with white trims and calling them Santa's elves. Not a bad scheme. Not a bad scheme. Here's one of the models where I did the butt crack wrong. I am putting on way too much Corax white. This is stupid of me. Because I don't. This is just an undercoat. This is not a real coat. I'm gonna paint over all of this sooner or later. It has been a long time. It's good to see you. It's really good to see you, Ash. Ash has done some really lovely fan art of me. Designed my mascots. And I did some calligraphy for them. So I've got a great deal of affection for Ash. It's one of those funny things, right? Is that because I'm pretty anal about keeping track of the credits of who did what for me, I end up seeing your name a lot because your name's in my files and stuff. So yeah, if you want me to see your name a whole bunch, make me some fan art, and I'll end up seeing it a lot. Some point needs to be revisited on this one. And load it up a little bit more while it's nice and wet. That's pretty much perfect. Uh, um, I think that's all right. I think it's all right. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the joke about renderite. I don't know if people have heard this joke before, but renderite is the novel, incredibly powerful space age material. It's white. It's incredibly strong. It can be used to make all sorts of shapes. You can use it in great quantities. And it is primarily seen in 3D renders of hypothetical architecture projects that haven't been built and might never, ever be built. Hence, renderite. It's there for renders. And again, may not actually exist in the physical realm. And that's kind of how Wraithbone feels to me, right? That's kind of how Wraithbone architecture feels to me. Is it feels like it's a material that doesn't follow any rules. And I'll be honest, as I am painting this model, I am thinking very hard about the most recent ACU article. ACU is a blog that I read pretty, I think religiously is actually the right word. There's a new one almost every Friday. And I may as well link the article that I'm talking about. And let me go grab it. ACU.log. So it's actually about, so yeah, it's hard not to think about this one while we're here painting this particular model. It's a very, very obvious one for my mind to fixate on. Why have I not been putting any white on the helmet? I'm going to need it there anyway. I'm going to need it here sooner or later. And so Brett Devereaux is a historian. He's a Roman military historian. And he has made his kind of cottage industry to the extent that he is a successful historian. He has been successful because he writes articles like that one, looking at pop culture depictions of real military historical issues and discussing them and how reasonable they are. And that's one where he's talking about Dune and Mass Effect in particular, and how Dune and Mass Effect portray body armor. And in particular, how they deal with rigid materials in the construction of body armor. That's his particular concern with those articles. How do these game series depict rigid body armors? Well, one's a movie series. How do they depict rigid body armors? And there's a similar problem with this Eldar model that I am looking at right now, which is, the fuck is this? If there's anything that you need for your body armor to do, it's to have a big rigid plate over your abdomen. That's actually, I would say, the number 2 priority after head protection is abdomen protection. Number 2 priority right there. And the way that you do that is you create a big rigid plate that covers the entire thing in one contiguous surface, and hopefully up into other parts of your body. And there's ways around this, right? There's ways to kind of play around with that, because like having just a big rigid box around your torso is going to restrain mobility very badly, right? It's going to restrain your mobility very badly, and restraining your mobility is going to restrain your combat effectiveness in a lot of negative ways. So you need to make trade-offs. And this isn't really making trade-offs, right? This is, you're taking the weight and you're not taking advantage of physics. You've still got the weight, but because they're discontiguous, you aren't actually getting the real advantage of doing this in the first place. So what are you doing? So what are you even doing? Get the whites together, and I am going to use a little bit of black. Oh, that's way too wet. That's way too wet. Gotta... Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you want to see how medieval plate works, I always recommend watching Todd's Workshop in particular. Todd's Workshop is a really wonderful YouTube channel, where a guy who works on reconstruction specifically does a lot of really cool tests. He mostly focuses on the weapon side more than the armor side, to be clear. But he has gotten armorers to come on and construct armor and test things, right? Like, they did a very, very good series, not series, a very, very good one over on Todd's Workshop, where they tested a, what's it called? They tested an English warbow against armor at different distances, against plate armor at different distances. And it's a really fascinating little video. Really fascinating little video. And I don't know, I thought it was very cool to look at. I thought it was very, very cool to look at how little or how much a longbow would actually penetrate quality armor made with relevant techniques of the era, with era relevant techniques. And spoilers, not much of a spoiler on this one. The armor's pretty effective. That's kind of the big takeaway. At really close distances, it could. At really, really close distances. And with really, really head-on impacts, which you're not going to be able to reliably perform. At a lot of distances, the arrow splintered without doing a lot of damage. And it was to some extent an illustration of a maxim that experts. Hello, Mora Sensei. Hello, Mora Sensei. It was an illustration of a thing that experts in military history and warfare have pointed out fairly frequently, which is that armor was in fact pretty effective. People spent a lot of resources on armor because it worked. Because it worked. Now we got to get the Mornfang out. I try to go like, you feel very important. What about when I call you Miss Mura? Really? That good? All right. I'll keep that in mind, Miss Mura. It's embarrassing. I can make it way more embarrassing. I can make it way worse. I can call you Senorita Mura. That I'm gonna have to clean up later, but I knew that. I knew that going in. Senorita Mura. I feel like Miss Mura is actually the most appropriate one. And of course, I actually wanted to embarrass you. Oh, that is a choice. That is a choice. I was going to say the most embarrassing one I can call you is Mura-chan. That's the worst one I can do. Hello, Kiri. Hello, Kiri. Hello, Kiri. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. I thought you knew, Kiri. I speak some Japanese. Ore no Nihongo wa yeah. ちょっとできるね。ちょっとできる。But yeah, I say Japanese when I was younger. I've been restudying it. I've been restudying it because I like working on kanji. Yes. You took 5th grade Japanese. Okay. Yeah. It's the prestige language for us VTubers, right? It's kind of the prestige language. Mura, that's not strictly true. It's actually pretty normal in a Japanese workplace to call your female colleagues chan. That's actually not that weird. It's a little bit patronizing. But it's not nearly as weird as calling your coworker cutie patootie. Not nearly that level of weirdness. There's a part of me that Yeah, I would say a little bit. I would say a little bit. I mean, the thing is, like, Japanese is a highly contextual language. I can't speak for Russian, right, which is your native language. But, you know, in English, a lot of the expressiveness that you have in English available to you is in the word choice, right? Is in which words you choose to use, because there's a lot of synonyms that have different connotations, different valences, different implications, different understandings, different feelings, etc., etc. So you see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing here? And that, you know, English speakers make a lot of choices about how they say they display their class and education and their relative position and their intention and their emotion by just choosing different words. Japanese is not as much like that. So whether or not Chan is particularly condescending in a given context is going to be dependent on, you know, a lot of things that are a lot more contextual. It's going to be a little bit less straightforward. So it's actually very normal, from what I can tell, from people I know who've worked in Japanese workplaces, for like the boss to call all of his or her female employees Chan. That's actually considered pretty normal, whereas if you called your own boss Chan, that's a little bit unusual. And part of this is also that Americans are very weird with hierarchy, right? Like, you're bringing up this thing about being on equal standing. Americans are very weird with hierarchy. Oh yeah, Mora. That's in America. It would be calling your colleagues Mr. Whatever. Is usually kind of cold is the word that people I think would use, but that's kind of a polite way of saying insulting. Like, most people, if they were to call me Mr. Montas, who are supposed to be my equals, it would either be they're trying to distance me from the project and trying to like push me out, or they were being sarcastic. Much more often being sarcastic. Full name with patronym. Yeah, we don't have patronyms here, right? We don't have patronyms here. In America, first names are the general order of business. There are obviously exceptions. If you're referring to a colleague in the third person, you usually call them Mr. or Miss whatever. If you're referring to them as somebody outside of the organization, right? So, you know, if we had Kiri, right? If we had Kiri, if me and Kiri were working in an office, I would call her Kiri to her face. But if I were dealing with an outside client, if I were dealing with an outside client well, a customer, I should say, if I were dealing with an outside customer, who's supposed to be at a lower level than us, I would say, you know, Miss Missiosity will help you, right? Miss Osity will help you out with this problem. If I were to refer them over to Kiri. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gringotts has it about right. Yeah. And so, yeah, the question of whether or not calling your colleague Chan is insulting has a lot to do with, like, what is their personality and what is your relative relationships. Yeah, that's gonna be, yeah, Sweden's famous for that. Sweden's famous for its egalitarianism in school and workplaces. And just to use an example from an anime that I love, uh, just use an example from an anime that I love to death. Planets, one of my favorites of all time. In Planets, the main character is Tanabe Ai. Last name Tanabe, first name Ai. Most people call her Tanabe-san. Some people call her Tanabe-chan. And she's actually like a pretty fiery tomboy type character. And her boss, her supervisor, calls her Ai-chan. And nobody thinks this is weird, and I don't think it didn't come across as weird to me that her supervisor was calling her Ai-chan. That's the Japanese workplaces tend to. I mean, the way that you use those honorifics in Japanese, chan versus tan versus san versus kun, etc., are really often about internal hierarchy, right? They're often about internal hierarchy, and so it's not seen as weird because everybody knows who the boss is. Everybody knows that he's Tanabe's boss. He's Ai Tanabe's boss. And because Ai Tanabe is young and seen as quite inexperienced by the people around her, it's actually kind of weird to call her other things from his perspective, right? If he were to call her, Tanabe-san, that would be like, oh, is she about to get fired? Right? And like we have a thing in America, right, where people joke about this. If somebody calls you by your full name, that's like not great, right? If somebody says, "Is there a Jonathan Jingleheimer Schmitz in the office?" That's like something is not great. That's a like you're about to get fired moment. Yeah, use in trouble if they pull out the full name. Exactly, Ramane. And also welcome in, welcome in. Uh, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, Humter knows it. Humter knows it. Uh, and thank you for the follow, Ramane. Thank you for the follow. Oh, thank you. Also, that gives me a quick reminder to where is it? We're not doing a hand cam. We are doing models and miniatures. Oh wow, a lot of people in the models and miniatures set right now. Well, bad news for you, Mura. It doesn't particularly matter whether or not you like them. They're still common. They are still common. Particularly in these here United States. Never going to the States. Well, and that's kind of interesting, Gringotts, because like when you're in food service, one of those things you get trained on is to like repeat the other person's name a whole bunch. Because most people perceive that as like inflating their sense of self-importance, and they tip you better, right? If the waiter calls you Gringotts over and over and over again, then uh, hello, Emperor's Armpits. I mean, Emperor's Armpits. I would call you Emperor's Armpits all the time, man. Emperor's Armpits. Oh, interesting, Gringotts. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. I don't share that feeling, but I don't know. I'm a different person from you, right? I'm a different person from you, so why would I feel the same way as you? And of course, as I was about to say, oh no, I'm sorry, Maura. In English, it generally is. In American English, it generally is. Your full name is used to specify to indicate that you're about to get bad news. That's what it's there for. And I suspect it has to do with our bureaucratization. That's kind of my suspicion, is that because of like the only place that really happens is in like really bureaucratic situations. Is when like the person who is trying to talk to you has never met you before and is about to give you really bad news. That like you're like that's like you're about to get diagnosed with cancer. You're about to get sentenced to prison. Like that's what we associate that with. Because otherwise, the people giving you news know who you are and don't need to do the full check. We actually do the Mr. or Miss first name all the time. I think it's kind of cutesy, is what it is to me. To me, honestly, to a certain extent, that actually reads as somewhat similar to using Chan for people, to be like Mr. Al, right? To call me Mr. Al is like cutesy, right? Am I wrong? I mean, Mora, it's literally a different language. Like, why would the same rules apply for a different language? Like why would there be trans language rules for politeness? Like, why would that even exist in the first place? Language is cultural. Politeness is extremely culturally local. It's culturally local to the extent that subcultures within the same like city will have different rules for politeness. You can walk 5 miles and get different rules about what qualifies as polite or impolite. So why would it apply across two very different languages? Americans and Germans don't even have remotely similar rules for politeness, and German's at least a similar language to English. Americans find the French insanely. Yeah, that's right, Gringotts. That's what I'd say. Actually, this is an interesting thing, Maura. This is actually a really interesting thing. Americans perceive British as being very polite, and British perceive Americans as being very polite. I perceive the British as being very rude, having gotten to know more British people and know more British culture. I perceive the British as very, very rude compared to Americans. Uh, um, and that's a lot of the British people. That's a lot of the British people I talk to. I think would agree with me. that Americans are like obnoxiously polite, obsequious, to use a nice word. Like British people don't thank the bus driver, and that's just psychotic behavior. Like that's just absolute lunacy to me. Get some of the blue layers on because those are going to require a lot of cleanup. Midwest? Yeah, I'm originally from the Midwest. I live in New York now. So I will actually say ramen. So this was one of the ones that I found kind of interesting, right? Was I'm from the Midwest, and I learned that as well, right? I learned that as well. I learned that as well. That you call you sir or ma'am for people who don't know. And the thing that I learned that I thought was really interesting was that most women really, really prefer miss to ma'am. What's going on with this hand cam? This looks like crap right now. Sorry, I'm just noticing that this looks awful. Turn up sharpness. Let's max out sharpness. Apply and 70. You know what? Let's put it on 75 and just leave it there. Okay, that looks better. Japanese is a big one. Honestly, when I was saying Chinese, it was really shocking to me. And so I will say this is speaking to both Ramene's experiences and Mora's experiences. To me, the most important question about politeness is what do you say to servers? What do you say to the people who are who like serve you food? And I kind of perceive most people other than Americans as kind of rude to servers. And it was particularly shocking to me when I was studying Chinese. I found the Chinese norms for how you talk to servers to be really staggering. They felt insane to me. Well, actually, sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. That's not that unusual. It's not the most common, but it's not that unusual. I don't know. I think that calling I've definitely called servers like like Miss Deborah. Excuse me, Miss Deborah, could I get some more coffee? Like I've definitely done that, and I didn't think it was. I thought that was just being nice. And I've been a server, right? I've absolutely been a server. I did not like it, but I have worked food service. That's part of the reason why I have strong feelings about this, right? Hello, Mix. Hello, Mix. It's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. We're actually having a discussion, Mix, that I think you would find interesting, which is cross-cultural politeness. Cross-cultural politeness. Me and Mura are having a particular disagreement over the politeness of calling people by different types of honorifics. Yeah, no, food service and all. Yeah, yeah. Mura, in America, waving at the server without saying anything when they get close is like perhaps the most impolite behavior that you're allowed to do in this language. Like, I would judge you. very harshly, Mora. Like I would judge you very harshly. Other than like not tipping, um, if you didn't tip, like I would have to like reconsider whether or not I want to talk to you ever again for the rest of your life. Um, well, Americans kind of treat everybody like their friends, which means that when you don't treat somebody like they're your friend, it's kind of obvious, right? That's kind of the long and the short of it. Uh, yeah, no, the French and Italians snap their fingers, which is like, oh my goodness, like if you do that, and like I again, I did food service, right? I did food service. I did serve some Europeans. Uh, we actively went out of our way to avoid the Europeans. Um, we like actively went out of our way to like discourage Europeans from eating at restaurants, and like uh, to like make their life bad. Like we actively tried to make the Europeans have a bad time. uh, yeah, it's well, I mean, yeah, and Ramene's got well, so we call it a culture, but I think that calling it a cultural thing is a bit of a misnomer. Because that gives the sense that it's just this like voluntary thing that we all do because we think it's cool. Um, which would be more similar to if we were talking about like, to use a really we were talking about like sports culture or something like that. Like Americans participate in sports culture because they think it's cool and like it. Uh, yes, it is a product of our economic and legal environments. Uh, not participating in tipping in America is like banditry. Like there is a like piracy has a better reputation uh because of like the involved legal necessities. Uh Flat out stealing from people is more legal. um yeah, Mora, but are you a criminal to like do you just like take money from beggars? Like that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about like you walk past a beggar and you just pick up their cup. Yeah, no, Humter. It's like people. There is a minimum wage exemption in the United States. Uh, we have an exemption for tipping where for tip if where service sector jobs that are customarily tipped, you can pay them sub minimum wage. So like I hope you don't mind me talking about this a little bit, but like Grim Glassman was applying for server jobs yesterday that were getting paid 1/3 of the minimum wage. They were being paid 1/3 of the minimum wage, and and that was considered like pretty good, like because normally for that job it would be 1/4 of the minimum wage. Well, it's explicitly legal. It's explicitly legal here. Um, Mora aligning herself with the bosses against the workers in chat. Mora's tried to make the case that she's evil before, and she's evil in the sense that she's with the bosses against the rest of us. That's a pretty funny twist. And yeah, we have built-in tipping with cards. It's extremely easy with card pay. Arguably easier. Again, it's an extremely set up thing in our culture, in our country, right? We're very set up to Mora being the kind of like banal, boring evil. Yes, no. Mix basically has it, which is like you can walk through a historical chain of events where it makes sense, and you wind up with an unjust result. That's really what it's about. Is like, uh, like you can explain it in a series of legal terms and historical terms where again it doesn't come across as insane, but the end result is still bad. Uh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've actually I actually did work a serving job where tipping was abnormal. Because we do like banquets and stuff, right? Like we do like banquets, and people don't actually like people who have ever been at like a banquet or a wedding. Like, did you tip? Right? Um, like most of the time, people don't tip. They're at banquets and corporate parties and stuff like that. So we got paid a fair wage. Uh, I got paid significantly above minimum wage. Um, exactly mix, exactly mix. Uh, exactly mix. Mix has it. Mix has it. Yeah, average American. I mean, I don't even think that's like one of our more psychotic things as a culture, if I'm being completely honest. Uh, I genuinely think our most psychotic cultural behavior is the thanking your boss after they fire you. That's, I think, our most psychotic behavior. That's lunacy. Um, that is absolute madness. Well, and Maury, you were talking about giving them shit just a minute ago. Yeah, I don't entirely know what to do about every part of solving our economy. I definitely have opinions. Hello, Javi. Hello, Javi. Oh, Gringotts, thank you for reminding me that I read an article recently about a workplace where the workers got together and to gave a bonus to the bosses, and it was like substantial. It was like a truly substantial bonus to the bosses from the workers, which is like the most insane thing I've ever heard. Just kind of a general belief that I just kind of have a general belief that don't do like charity should flow downwards, not upwards. Like in general. Uh, it just feels like a straightforward thing. Well, I mean, Mora, in a sense, well, let me put it this way, Mora. If somebody suffers, if somebody suffers because you didn't tip them for work done, I am blaming you. That is your personal fault, Mora. If you don't tip a worker and that causes them to have unexpected wage loss, you have actually cemented yourself as the rudest person in the chat by a considerable margin. And you're doubling down on it. What I've mostly gotten out of this more is the next time you complain about something being rude, I'm not going to believe you. I'm just not going to believe you at all about your theories about politeness, which is fun. Let's see, what else needs doing around here? I think that's okay on the Corax layer. If the math for a tip is wrong, I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, the restaurant doesn't have shit to do, right? Like, the tip is just whatever tip they give you. So, if, you know, when I was serving, if somebody tipped us too much, like, the restaurant doesn't even need to know. This is actually part of the reason why cash tipping is better. This is part of the reason why cash tipping is better, is that, you know, the restaurant doesn't even need to know what the tips are, right? You know, that's kind of the best solution is to pay with cards. Yeah, I am with you, Mix. That I think that it's pretty messed up that we use the literal threat of death to keep people going to work, and I don't think it's very productive, and I think it's actually kind of a bad thing that our culture has been trending more and more towards that. you know, in particular, the idea that like artists and scientists should be facing, are going to like be more productive under that kind of pressure, even though we know they're not. Even though we know very comfortably that, and confidently, that scientists and artists do better work when they're more relaxed, and have more ease. Yes, they can pocket, and they also get to know, and they also even know, right? Like, and I was also thinking about it, Gringotts, and well, and Gringotts, I was also putting this in the context of, if you tip by card but you mispay, that's going to come out of the tip. Whereas if you mispay, if you get the wrong number when you pay by card but you tip in cash, the server gets to keep all the cash. Right? So that's like the most clever method, I would say, from protecting the worker's standpoint. Yeah, I have theories, right, about, I've talked a little bit on here. I've got some crude economics knowledge, and there are definitely some places where it's just like, oh, it's like, that's just bad. That's just flat out bad. I'm not pretending that my work culture is good. I'm not pretending that my work culture is good, Mura. I don't know where you got the impression that I think my work culture is good. As a kid, I took... Oh, Hoomter, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. That's pretty cute. A bit of a problem, but pretty cute. Mura, like, why the fuck do you think I'm the president of the United States? I mean, yes, you are. You said that you would not tip. You said that you would not tip in America. That if you were put in a position where tipping was important, you said you wouldn't. You put yourself in it. You did. You put yourself in the equation. You entered the equation directly. You volunteered yourself into it. Yeah, no, U.S. work culture is pretty dreadful. There's a reason why I am working here and not in a lot of other workplaces that I have the option to work in. I am grateful to be here. I am grateful to be here on the VTube sphere. Yeah, oh yeah, even our minimum wage is way too low. I actually read a pretty interesting thing recently about arguing about, and I think I agree with this one, that we should be increasing the price for bottle deposit, because that's a very essential worker to our society. That's a very basic. That's like essential to those of us who live in like big cities, right? It's very essential to those of us who live in big cities that there are the bottle collectors. They're a very important type of worker for our sanitation, and they're getting underpaid massively. 5 cents a can is not enough. Mora, the step that you took that is getting you lambasted here, including by me, is when you're talking about you have inserted yourself into this. You have inserted yourself into this. I don't know if this is like a linguistic issue or not, but you have. Like when you're talking about like judging US culture as fundamentally rude, like you are inserting yourself into this and then you're trying to back out of it when it's purely at your own convenience after already inserting yourself into it. Like, you already walked into it and volunteered yourself into it, into the conversation by making those, and now you want to be outside of it. Like you're either in or you're out. And like if we want to talk about cultural differences, then like it does matter, right? The question about whether or not you tip is a question about whether or not you exist in a place where tipping is important, and tipping is valuable, and tipping is useful, and tipping helps the people that you give the tips to. And if you don't exist in that culture, like that's fine. Like if I was in Russia, when I've been in Japan, right? Well, then why are you commenting on American culture, right? Like you want to comment on American culture, but then be free from the comments on American culture. You want to comment on Japanese culture, but then be free from the comments on Japanese culture. Right? This started with this question of like, is it like what honorifics are acceptable to call workplace people in different cultures? That's where we started with. It's acceptable in certain situations. Again, context is very important in Japanese language. It's acceptable to call your coworkers chan in certain situations, right? It can be patronizing or obnoxious in certain situations, but it is not seen as super weird. It is not like uniquely weird. And in America, we have different naming conventions, and in Russia, we have different naming conventions, right? Yeah. Mix. Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, that's actually an interesting one. I've had people come across with that one a lot. Of like it is very interesting how a lot of Americans have like really angry feelings about the Canadian healthcare system. Uh, uh, yeah, there's definitely there's certainly an envy element. There's also an element of I would call it copium. Uh, I would call it copium. With the Americans and the Canadian healthcare system, where it's a maximum. It's a maxim, right? It's a very common cultural maxim in the U.S. that you get what you pay for, right? And so if we're paying so much for our healthcare system, we must be getting something out of it. Um, we must be getting something out of it, and that's just simply like, it cannot just be that the American system is just simply less efficient. It must be that there's some sort of fair trade-off happening where we're getting something for what we're paying for. Which does not really make any sense, right? Like sometimes you just get ripped off. Yeah, and it's also the really interesting thing mix where it's not like as an American, I don't have to wait a lot for for-profit healthcare. I've had to wait an enormous amount of time for a lot of things in the United States. We're not like exempted from that. We just simply have a badly run healthcare system. Like there's just no two ways about it. It's just not well managed. It's just not well run. Period. Let's get in here. Just getting the Browns in. Uh, Punter. In my admittedly fairly limited experience, brings into a blind spot when it comes to seeing their country from outside perspectives. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting the ways in which we do consider ways in which other countries can be better than us, because occasionally we do. There are places where Americans are quite comfortable with it, and they're often bizarre ones, right? They're often really bizarre ones. I have met a disturbing number of people who really admire the People's Republic of China for its lack of civil liberties. That's a surprisingly common stance, is a sort of like weird admiration specifically for the observational elements of the Chinese state. And I think that's a little bit distressing. I've actually never seen anybody say anything particular about Brazil other than they like the party culture. They do like the party culture of Brazil. There's a fair number of Americans. This is usually I criticize. I'm a pretty left-leaning person, so usually I'm criticizing people from the right. But there's definitely a like a left lib thing of talking about Scandinavian countries as being like total utopias. That is, I think, unreasonable. And to a certain extent, there's a huge fetishization for France in particular. A lot of Americans have a huge French fetish. And if you talk to people who are older, there's often a lot of really weird admiration for the United Kingdom that is really unwarranted. It is just profoundly unwarranted. Yeah. I mean, it's. I can definitely point to things that Scandinavian countries flat out do better than the United States. That's pretty easy to do. That is pretty easy to do. But also, I mean, they're hardly perfect, right? I don't think any. I don't think any country has perfect governance, to be completely honest. I'm kind of, as a person who studied a lot of bureaucratic failures, I am pretty unimpressed with every existing state. The UK is a disaster. Uh, States cannot be perfectly run by people. I can see that. I can see that. I think that there's a deeper issue even than that, right? Which is not just that states are run by people; it's that states are run for people. What has happened to my model? Tracking is broken. Huh. Okay, I think I know how it broke. Give me a second. This is a dumb way to break. This is a dumb way for tracking to break. Give me a moment. Disable you. Yeah. Yep. So it happens. Nope. It is such a sweater. It is such a good sweater. It is such a good sweater. Calibrate, and are we back? I look like I'm back. I feel like I'm back. Okay. I feel like I am back. Nope. Okay, that was a normal break. That was a normal reason for the camera to break. And properties. Okay, we should be good now. We should be good now. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I like this sweater a lot. I will probably have to double sweater up again in a few minutes because it is freezing here. Specifically in my apartment. I don't get what the deal is. I'm really bothered by this. I moved where I am in my apartment from being against the wall that faces the street to being against the wall that faces the building next to me. And I assumed that this would be warmer. And it turns out it's way less. Well, I'm not even near I'm further from the windows than I was last year. I'm further from the windows. I'm up against a wall that faces another building. And so I figured it would be warmer because I figured the other building would be heated to some extent. And it seems like it's not. It seems like the sunlight mattered more. And I am really baffled and frustrated by this. Yeah, maybe somebody died exactly here. That's true. That's true. Maybe I'm being haunted. I mean, statistically, right? Um, the urge to build a farm at 2 a.m. That is like the category of game that I feel like I am obligated to like the most, and I just have so little interest in. Is the like Stardews and the Stardews of the world, the Stardews and Harvest Moons and such of the world. I don't know. Uh, thank you, Mix, for reminding me of the bit about it's an Aziz Ansari bit from a few years ago about a ghost who died just like 2 or 3 years ago. Uh, and it's like, dude, what's your Wi-Fi password? Because presumably, right? Um, well, and so what I need, right? So Mix, Mura, Grim, what I need is like I need a certain amount of pressure in my games. Um, and so like I rather liked Traveler's Rest. I really liked Traveler's Rest, which is like a comfy farming type game, but like you're under this pressure. I like Frostpunk. Uh, I like Frostpunk. I think have I even played Frostpunk on stream? I don't think I've played Frostpunk on stream. Maybe I did once. But I like Frostpunk. Uh, yeah, I like the time pressure. Yeah, that's true. I have played. No, Moro, we've played Against the Storm on stream. I like Against the Storm on my own. I don't actually. I did not. We did play it on stream, and I did not like it as a stream game. Which is sad because it's got a lot of streamer integration. But yeah, Mura, you were trying to kill me. You were trying to kill me the entire time. You were voting Forest like hardcore constantly. Um, I didn't like it as a stream game because it's too goddamn complicated. Uh, like I understand what's happening, but I couldn't explain it fast enough to chat, to like people who hadn't already played the game. That's like that's a lot of the games I like a lot are actually really hard for me to stream because like I think, you know, to Grimm's point about the gap moe, a lot of the games I like are like really confusing. uh well, I've found that it depends a lot on the game, right? Like Dark Souls is slow enough that's not a big deal. Dark Souls is slow enough that's not a big deal. I cannot keep up with Europa was one that like I know that there are some Europa bros in this chat right now. I am pretty sure there are some people who came. Oh my goodness, Lance! Thank you for the raid. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in, Raiders. I am Almantas, former professor, current VTuber, old man who loves old things. I do a lot of handcam streams. I do a lot of art streams. I mostly do calligraphy. We were actually talking about different games for streaming because let me give you the shout out, Lance. Genshin. Okay. Genshin. Genshin. How was Genshin? How was Genshin? A game that I have never played. Oh yes. This is an Eldar. This is an Eldar Guardian. For 40K. This is a 40K Eldar Guardian. I have painted like 11 of these guys so far on stream. I've gotten slightly better at it. I'm doing a paint scheme that is based off of my model. This will be my last Warhammer one for a while because somebody bought me some undead Roman soldiers on thrones. So I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that next once those arrive. And I tend to paint pretty slowly. And yeah, we were talking a little. I hope that you were enjoying Genshin. Genshin is another game, as a good example of a game that I know is very popular to stream that I am unlikely to because I don't like gambling. I don't like gambling. I don't like it as a mechanic, and I don't like to do it with my actual money. So you know, that's it's an unlikely one for me. I have talked occasionally about doing a deliberate troll run where I literally well, I would say I mean I like to be a little bit of an imp. Hold on. Tracking's still working, but it's really miscalibrated. I like to. I'm a little bit of a contrarian, right? And one of those things that I've wanted to do, in terms of contrarian streaming, would be what is going on with my model? My model is screwing up like crazy. What is happening here? Hold on. I'm going to have to I'm gonna have to do. Sorry for the scuff. My model is losing his mind, so I'm going to shut down Vbridger and restart Vbridger. And gotta kill this connection. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is, and it's a really annoying problem to solve. It's a really annoying problem to solve. And then connect you. It's a very annoying problem, and I am pretty sure the problem is the USB hub that's installed in my hardware. I am pretty sure that I need to just buy an entire another PC that has a completely different USB infrastructure. Is the actual solution, which is very annoying. Which is very, very annoying. It's internal camera interference between the two USB cameras. But yes. Yeah. I know the Genshin, so I've thought about doing the kind of troll run of Genshin where I just never pull. I just never engage. I just never touch the gacha mechanics at all, and I just see what happens. Because yeah, this tends to be like when I play a game where I can make choices, particularly when I'm streaming them. Even more so when I'm streaming them when I'm playing them on my own. My instinct is to try to see how far I can push a very odd strategy. Because I'm an explorer, right? I'm a Johnny in the Magic the Gathering sense. I'm very much a Johnny. Not exclusively, but very much. Uh, ah. Well, see, yeah, that's even less fun. I was hoping it was a game that would just be an absolute disaster. Like, it's not fun unless chat is crying and gnashing their teeth. I need them to be weeping. I need them to be more frustrated than me. There's a big cat man. I'm just curious. I'm just very, very curious. I like to see where things go. Uh, uh, oh no, yeah, Emperor's Armpits. Yeah, I actually do like the Dark Souls stream, Grim. I'm not frustrated. Grim, you've watched them. You know, I wasn't frustrated. I had a lot of fun. Uh, I did feel like the game got a lot less interesting after I got out of the asylum. But yeah, yeah, Hoomter, I was talking about Europa before. Europa was a game I used to stream a ton, and I've got a bunch of friends who stream Europa a lot, notably Saffron, right? Saffron streams Dark Souls a ton. I remember talking with Nagi after the Dark Souls stream, and Nagi was like, it was interesting to watch somebody who doesn't play video games. Actually, no, Gringotts. I actually didn't game a lot until I was older. I spent a lot of when I was a kid, I did not really game very much. The way I played games when I was younger was like my brothers would play games and I would support them. So like I remember particularly for Legend of Zelda. I remember particularly for Legend of Zelda, the original. I really do mean original Legend of Zelda. I would have the map out, right? I would have the map out, and I would keep track of like where people had gone in the dungeon. I was like doing like total support role. That was how I experienced gaming when I was a little kid. Uh, um, and when I got older, you know, like I would have game nights, right? We'd have game nights, and we'd play, you know, like we'd play like GoldenEye and stuff, and I would like make snacks for people. Right, that was like my engagement. That was like the part of it that I really liked, was that I was like making snacks and you know, I was making snacks and cleaning up and like checking in on people, and like I developed a couple of norms that I stand by as very good for running those kind of games. I am in particular a big fan of, if you're doing fighting games with a group of people, you do winner out. I'm a really big advocate of winner out for a fighting game night where you're doing hot seat. Uh, uh, it's literally the opposite. I think that loser out's terrible. I think that loser out is terrible. I think that loser out is by itself a significant discouragement to playing fighting games in general. I know that loser out's the norm, and I think it's terrible. I have not seen I Got Next. I have not seen I Got Next. You can DM it to me. DM it to me. Gringotts, if you're suggesting something, you know that I'm in. You know that I'm in. Might not watch it for a minute. Yeah, loser out. Particularly because loser out. Like the thing is, like the person who stays in. Well, it's not just. Yeah, Ramine and Mix hit it. Hit it very well. Which is like the when you do loser out, that means that the person who plays the best player is also going to be the most warmed up player all the time. Everybody's going to be going in cold against the player who's already the best. And so it creates the most feel bad thing for a game night. It's the worst way to have a game night where one person is winning a whole bunch and everyone else is not looking forward to play. It's the worst way to have a game night, where one person is having fun at the expense of everybody else. So I'm a very big advocate. Yeah, if it's a hyper-competitive community, yeah, I am definitely talking in a casual context. I'm definitely talking for casual context. That's fair. That is fair. I am definitely talking for a casual context. Yeah, loser, you start to feel guilty, which, like, oof. If you're the good person. I was never the good person. I was never the good person. I was a dipshit who was a Voldo main, right? I wasn't good. I wasn't good. Yeah. Yeah. My opponent can't have a plan if I don't have a plan. Yeah, see, Blast and I have a lot of like weird things in common. For like no good reason. Uh Hello, Nando. Hello, Nando. How are you doing, Nando? Nando is in Japan right now. Or when do you get back? When do you get? Yeah, Nando was in Japan visiting. You should still be there, right? Of course you were, Gringotts. Of course you were. Oh yeah, I mean, Mix. There's that concert, right? That's why Kari. That's why the shrimp's there. That's why our lovely Shrimperetta is there. Oh, you catch the plane to return today? Okay. I hope that you did not. I hope that you got a very lovely vacation and that you feel really good. I know that you got to have poutine. Uh, uh, I know that you got to have Japanese style poutine. Oh yes. I can leave at least one VTuber who I think is doing that, right? Isn't that what Baka Mitai is doing? Uh, isn't that Baka Mitai use thing? I don't know her very well. I'm just going off of what she said on stream. I knew her. I know her a little bit. I know her a little bit. Mostly I know her in the sense that like I know Kari, and therefore I know some of Kari's friends, and like her and Kari have collabed a bunch. Uh, that's the extent to which I know Baka Mitai EU. That's the Kari experience for sure. Excellent. No, I'm glad you did, Nando. I'm glad you did. Nando's really fun. Me and Nando have done a bunch of collabs. Uh, Nando is our strategy gaming specialist. Yes, yes. We've mostly we've done Age of Empires content together, though we did do a light novel discussion a few weeks ago. I'm really bad at keeping track of time, so I'm always last week was Nutcase, so the week before would have been Nando, I think. And then the week before that was Exit West. Yes, I know it's lazy to use true metal paints, but who's going to stop me? I used lead belcher for a lot of these in the past. I used a more like silvery metal, but I'm actually kind of enjoying this really brassy metal. Uh, uh, I'm enjoying this really like brassy metal. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Like I said, I apologize if I ever get that wrong. I know I've gotten that wrong really badly a few times. Where like I was talking with Lowen, and like Lowen dropped by, and I was like, "Oh, me and Lowen just collabed like the other week," and she was like, "No, it was like 3 months ago. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh, fuck me." I don't know Slapshot. I know of Slapshot as like a method for doing things quickly, which is the exact opposite of what I want to do. Uh, no, Mora. Uh, Mora. And no Emperor's Armpits. I am not prepping for anything in specific. I am painting because I enjoy the experience. I enjoy doing things with a high degree of detail, and I enjoy things where I have lots of room for improvement. That is my mentality with this. You did vote for it, but I wouldn't have put it up. Grim, this is an important thing to understand. As indecisive. Crap. Hold on. Let me go take care of that. I hate wasting paint, but what's done is done. All right, sorry about that. I am back, and my model. Oh, there we go. There we go. There's tracking it back. Uh. Hold on. But yeah, Grim, I don't put things up for votes. I don't put things up for votes if I don't want to do them, right? I could have put I only put up 2 things for vote, right? I could have put up a million things for vote. I could have put Genshin up for vote, right? I don't want to play Genshin. I could have put it up for vote. So yeah, I only put things up for, if I'm asking for feedback on like what I should do, is I've already gotten it down to the things I want to do. I've already got it down to things that I like. And then it's just a matter of like optimizing, right? I never put things up for vote that I just actively don't want to do. Let's get you on there. But yeah, oh, that's pretty fun. That's actually a pretty fun one, Mix. And see, they tied the vote, Mix, at the start of chat, and so I just ran the vote over and over again until somebody fucked up and didn't tie it. Yeah, you were the one who messed up last. Trying to figure out what you meant. What am I doing, Laura? Unless you mean things I like, because I'm doing what I want. Okay. Painted outside the lines pretty badly there, but that's easy to fix up later. I want to leave that one alone. Yeah, it was like Battle at a Convention. Exactly. Chaotic things. I suppose. Is this chaotic? Is painting chaotic? Actually do have a spot where I want you that I haven't done yet. And around here. I feel like so many VTubers like really sell themselves on the chaotic element of it that I wonder if I could make that part of like what I don't know, it's like the one non-chaotic VTuber. The organized and orderly VTuber. And thank you, Mix. Thank you, Mix. Who's up to breaking windows? Cute. I just I don't know. It's I enjoy the process, right? I enjoy the feeling of knowing more than I did yesterday. I really truly do enjoy that sensation of like being better than I was yesterday. And it's that sense of like the scales dropping off where I get a lot of my joy in life from. Is that sense of like that's I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like the sense of like the bad things dropping away from me. Uh, the way I like to describe it is that it's I was one of those kids when I was little who would peel the glue off of the glue bottles. It's like that, right? But for my brain. It's that peeling of paint off, but for my mind. Yeah. Well, and actually, to what Nando and Muro were both saying, it's actually part of why, even though, like, yes, I do play Warframe, I'm not actually super motivated by the numbers in Warframe or Payday. I kind of view them as a bit of a distraction. And a large part of why is because that's not me improving. That's not me improving. That's like the world around me improving for me. That's not my growth. That's growth that's external to me. And so I don't find it very compelling. Oh, Mix is super smart. And I do like checklists. I do like checklists. And yes, I am sorry. So Orc Florist asked an interesting question. Favorite historical large vessel for containing liquids? Uh, I do actually like M4i. I didn't when I was younger, but I did read some really. There's a really good thread on Blue Sky about how M4i were constructed, and that gave me a lot of newfound appreciation for M4i. But I really like the Zhou Dynasty bronze vessels. I really like the Zhou Dynasty bronze vessels because they're just so goddamn weird. Like they're just so goddamn weird. Uh, I do not get the deal with them, and I find that really fun. I find that really really fun. That like they were the physical embodiment of the mandate of heaven. Uh, Nando, that's very cute. That's very very cute. That reminds me. Hold on, I need to. I forgot about doing this. Platforms. Yeah, hydrates. Okay, hydrate is on. Okay, those are good actually. Those are good. Uh, that's actually a very similar course to me, Mix. I am a very much a people pleaser. And a lot of my behavior has been informed by how can I behave so that I cause the least friction for the people around me. Um, uh, that has been a significant motivating factor in how I behave. Cover yourself in oil, yes. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Um, I can definitely see that. We're getting into relatively fine details here on our brown layers. And um, I'm doing some pushing here because I feel like with pushing, uh, it's a little bit easier to stop myself from painting over details I've already painted to adhere to the lines around me. Ah, yeah, we do. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me back up here a second. Hearing Almantas talk me, that's good, Lance. I really bristle. I actually rather bristle against the like intelligence branding, the like smart guy branding, because a lot of people perceive that as like me placing myself above them, which I hate, which I absolutely hate. I despise it. I feel so bad. If somebody listens to me and they feel dumb, that's like the worst outcome as far as I'm concerned. I don't think I really don't think I'm smarter than other people. I think I know some things, but I think everybody knows some things, and I'm here to share that knowledge. Um, and you know, I come from teaching, right? I come from teaching, and like your student feeling dumb because of your lesson is like a horrible outcome. It's an awful outcome as a teacher. Uh, it's an absolutely awful outcome. It's dreadful. So I try to be and yeah, Ramune. Yes, similar experience. Similar experience. I don't think it was particularly my parents, to be honest. My parents are very sweet. And did not want me to be anything other than happy. But I definitely feel as though my life has mostly rewarded me for getting out of the way of other people. And I would not describe this as... I would describe this mostly as a personality disorder. Like, I would not describe that as me having any particular wisdom. I would describe that as a chain of events that led to me being kind of insane in a peculiar way. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Um, oh yeah, that's awful. That's yeah, it's very frustrating, right? Because like, um, contrary, I think, to a lot of how I most of my academic work was not book based. It was interview based. I was an interviewer. That's kind of how I learn about the world, is I talk to other people and I listen to them. I really feel like that's my actual education, is social. My education is mostly social. Um I tend to view books as being about connecting with people. Like when I read an interesting book about a historical topic, I am very self-conscious of the fact that I'm reading a person's argument, that I'm reading a perspective, that I'm not reading like the fundamental truth. I am reading an idea by a person that they were motivated to put in writing. Uh, and I feel like this is a thing that you sense more strongly when you read more like academic nonfiction as opposed to just like more popular nonfiction. Uh, because one of those things that becomes kind of apparent to you is that you notice that everybody's actually in disagreement. So I'm reading Metropolis and Hinterland by Neville Morley, right? And Neville Morley is participating in a discussion, and he's talking about, all right, Nando, please go enjoy Japan. Please go enjoy Japan. You spent money to be in Japan. You didn't spend money to watch an American VTuber who you can watch anytime. Uh, but Morley is talking about this debate between different models for how pre-modern cities worked. And it's very clear that this is a series of models. And that people disagree, that there's disagreement about how large ancient Rome was and what the economic function of ancient Rome was. Um, these are real disagreements between people, and he's a person who is participating in this discussion. And yeah, Mix. I've actually had conversations with Neville Morley thanks to Blue Sky now, which makes me feel insane. Because the dude's still around. This is not like a 200-year-old book. This is a book from like the 90s. Uh, and it's uh, it's worth keeping in mind that like the truth is a thing that we are striving towards. It is not a thing that is just like, the truth is not generally readily apparent to us. And when it is readily apparent to us, we don't actually end up discussing it very much. Uh, we don't actually end up having a lot of discussion about things that are just true. Because they're settled, right? Most of the discussion that we're having in life tends to be around areas of high disagreement. Hello, Zamia. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in. I think it might be time to start doing the whites layer. I'm gonna do another layer of brown. I'm gonna do another layer of brown before I get to the whites layer. Before I do the first layer of whites, because there's a couple places where I've just like not done browns that I should have already. Let's do that. I loaded that way too high. Load that way too high. And but yes. This is just kind of a funny place where the nature of streaming is somewhat different than the nature of the underlying hobbies and the underlying, like, this applies to video games to some extent, but in the case of model painting, my goal, if I'm trying to optimize anything, I am trying to spend more time per model rather than less. I actively want to spend more time per model. Because if I spend less time per model, that means I'm spending more. My expenditures per stream are going up. Paying for models is an expense. Ooh, I would actually love to hear it, Mix. If you don't feel prepared to share it in this environment, I will absolutely hear it on the DMs. Because I don't know, I'm doing it because I enjoy it and because I like to do hand cams, right? I like to do a lot of hand cams, and I want to. Sometimes I just don't want to do. Sometimes I want to vary it up from calligraphy. I want to have some variety from doing calligraphy streams all day, every day. I could get a 3D printer. That's a hypothesis, right? And I could develop. What would be the proper art form for this? Would it be like martial arts breathing bullshit to materialize copyrighted models out of nothingness? Uh, the main problem for me with a 3D printer is space, which admittedly model painting is in general not the best for. Uh, I will be blunt, the main expense that I am worried about for streaming expenses right now is microphone. I am not happy with my microphone quality. I think my voice is coming across very thin. Uh, I do not like it. But that's just. I could also use a better camera, if I'm being honest. I'm not happy with this camera. I did actually talk with Neanomancer a little bit. I should talk with him some more about that. Me and Neano have been talking a lot lately. Especially because he likes to come by my server at like while he's at work at like 3 in the morning. uh, yeah, Neano's great. Neano's wonderful. Love Neano. Love that cat. I think I missed a spot that I should be doing in blue. There's some other browns that I need to do. Oh yeah, I've got some blue spots that need to be fixed up. Hold up. Let's see about this one. Uh, yeah. Uh, yeah. No, microphone quality is, and people like my voice, so I feel bad that like I feel like they're hearing a worse version of it, right? A lot of the scuff stuff I don't really worry about, right? Like oh no, the tracking broke. Like whatever, it's like a 10-second fix most of the time. Like, oh no, my stream clock is broken. Like, whatever, I can deal with that. Most of the stuff I don't mind, but like the microphone bothers me a lot. That really gets under my skin. Hold on a second. Well, my current microphone situation is I'm on like $100 mic tier. I'm on like $100 mic tier. I am not really in an economic position where like a $5,000 microphone is a very good idea. And I'm not myself audio knowledgeable enough. That's like a big problem for me with mic stuff. Is that I actually have really bad hearing. I feel like I need to say this a lot because it's really shaping to how I approach this world and how I feel in this world. That my ears are not very good. I don't have good hearing. I genuinely like struggled to tell the difference between like good microphones and bad microphones. And really, you know, like bad EQ versus good EQ. I just have flat out bad hearing. Lewitt LCT 440 pure, which is about 250. I need to do like I need to get like a big chart together. I was on a Shure SM58 for a while, which was not bad quality, but then the XLR interface I was using for it died. And so while I wouldn't hate going back to that microphone if I could fix the XLR interface, it does have a big problem. It does have a big problem for me in that it's a very directional microphone. It's a very directionally sensitive microphone, which I thought would be a strength when I got it, because it didn't pick up a lot of road noise, right? Which is nice. It didn't pick up road noise, but I move my head a lot while I stream. Particularly like right now, like I'm hunched over my desk. I'm moving my head at like 45 degrees while I'm talking here, and it would cause really radical volume variation. So like I'm really not keen on getting a tightly directional microphone. Okay, let's see. Let's get some paint on here. Yeah, USB mics I know have a huge range. And the trouble I have is that I have two people in my real life like who know me, and are also like big audio nerds, and I know enough to know that they do not know shit about voices. I do know enough to know that they don't know shit about voices. One of them is like just like does not believe that there are higher quality mics than like a Shure SM58. He's just like, why would you need a better microphone than an SM57 or 58? Like, if they were good enough for Michael Jackson, there's no real audio improvement over that. Well, like that person is a guitarist. Like, he's a guitarist, and he actually kind of doesn't even like any music that has singing in general. He just kind of views singing as an inferior instrument to guitars and pianos. They just are kind of like on a lesser plane of existence to him, which is pretty funny. And the other guy just has no taste. The other guy, is just a dilettante. He's just full of shit. Like he's just like, yeah, there's no mic that's better than a Blue Yeti. And it's like, dude, that's not even good. Like, even I know that's not good. Yeah, Lance. We've played around a lot with the mixing. On the back end. Like, I've spent a lot of time doing mixing work, particularly with Koron. Thank you, Koron, so much. This is your shout out, Koron the Coffee Crow, for helping me a million goddamn times with audio mixing. Vex has also helped me a bit as well. And hold on, let's get in here. Blue. And then there's a blue dot here. Damn it! Slipped. Brush control fail. Brush control success. Koron the goat. Koron's great. Koron's been incredibly helpful to me. But there's definitely a bit of an issue. Like, this was something me and Deanna were talking about, where my microphone, I'm on a Rode Podcaster mic that is pretty old and is a hand-me-down from somebody else. And it seems to not be picking up certain vocal ranges very well. And there's only so much you can do with mixing if it's just not picking up things. Like, there's just like an upper limit to what you can actually get done. Oh, I mean, thank you for that mix. There shouldn't be. I thought we managed to mix that out. Oh, geez, that just kind of pumps up the urgency. And it's Cyber Monday. Are Cyber Monday deals persisting? For more than a couple more days, or are they ending today? I'll be very sad if they're ending today, because I do want to see if I can take advantage of that, but I also haven't settled on what I want to do microphone wise. Hmm. A bunch of other places through the 4th. Okay, so I might get a non-Amazon one then. Might go off. Might not use Amazon because I doubt I'll be able to do it by midnight EST today. Because I can do some research while it's during movie nights. But obviously that's like not perfect. And the thing that I really need is I just need somebody who's like an audiophile, like who's like as good as like Kirill or Nyano at audio, who like has heard my voice unmediated. That's what I really need. I just need somebody who's like super knowledgeable and has heard me without any mediation, which I don't have. I just need them to be like, this is the microphone you need. And I'll be like, thank you. Entirely for your own benefit. Yeah, I mean, you know the deal, Mix. If you come up here, I will cook. And I am a pretty good cook. Yeah, food for thought. Exactly. No, you need food to think. Yeah. Then that'll mean that like more than one other VTuber has seen me face to face. Let's see. Yeah, you're like DC Metro, right? Bethesda. Okay, yeah. I've been to Bethesda a lot. Weirdly, Bethesda might actually be the closest place I can get Jepson's Malort. I really want to have some Malort. In case anybody was wondering whether or not I qualify as having like actual lawful good credentials, I do like having a bottle of Malort around. Yeah. I think you know the place too. Yeah. Uh, why did I do that? That's why I did that. That's why I did that. And I feel more bad about this paint spill if it wasn't for If it wasn't for I should be clear, Blasphazar, you should know, if you don't know this, that Google Maps is extremely optimistic. And Ramanai, it was a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely dinner. I hope you have a lovely, lovely dinner. Uh, yeah, Google Maps is very optimistic with New York in particular, I find. Um, I particularly find the its estimations about how you can make subway transfers are unjustified, is the word I would use. Unjustified. I think that when it tries to calculate how long it would allow you to do a subway transfer, it's off like by a lot. Yeah. Uh, it tends to assume that that subway transfers take like that, like when you get to a subway station, you can move through the subway station at like car speed. That you're going 20 to 30 miles per hour through the entire subway station uninterrupted. Which is not how that works. um all right, Grim, have a lovely night. Have a lovely night. If you're able to make movie night, that would be lovely. We are doing John Wick chapters 3 and 4 tonight because my good friend Glitchica wanted to watch them. She's a big fan of John Wick. She's a big movie nerd in general, but John Wick, we watched 1 and 2 a couple weeks ago. Not last week. Last week we watched a documentary about the Battle of Cannae. An hour north of Syracuse. Okay. Yeah. I know that area. Yeah. I've lived up there. I've lived up there. I've lived up there. As well. It's gorgeous up there. Ho 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 ho. Uh, start doing some whites. Let's start doing some whites on here. Yeah, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's so much snowier than it is like anywhere else. It's actually wild how wet and snowy northern New York is. Uh it is so outrageous how much snowier it is. And again, I'm a Midwesterner by nature. Like I grew up in the Midwest. My family's mostly upper Midwest. And northern New York is so much worse. It's warmer, but it's such a wetter winter. Um, it is such a more wet winter. Let's get some of that. Let's deload that a little bit. like when I've talked to people moving to the United States, when they've told me that they're going to places like Syracuse and Albany, I'm like, you're not ready. Like I don't know like how many other places on the world are like that, but even areas that are much colder, um, are like much more hospitable. uh, I'll have second story entry doors. Yup, yup. I'm still kind of haunted by the fact that like people used to make second story entry outhouses. Like, what was it like to go back in the spring? Like, how'd that happen? What happened when it was springtime and you got into the first floor of your two-story outhouse? Uh, Sounds utterly vile to me. Yeah, you go to the bathroom with a shovel. Yeah. Can you imagine the smell? And let's get in here. Do some very fine detail work on the hands. And seeing a sign that just said Canada. Ah, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Army. Uh, screwed up. Screwed up. Did it wrong. Did it wrong. Needed to be drier. Needed to be drier. So it goes. So it goes. Uh, uh, needed to be drier. I'm doing it too wet. I'm doing it way too wet. Doing it way too wet. For what I'm trying to do there. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting the white above the shadows, and the white is dripping into the shadowed parts. The white is dripping into the shadowed parts, which are the parts I specifically do not want there to be white painted. Uh, yeah. Okay. Let's get over here. And up here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's get in here. And yeah, white layers so far going good, which means I've probably jinxed myself. I think I just did right there. I think I just beefed it right there as soon as I said it. As soon as I said it, I think I beefed it. Yeah, huge whiff there. Huge whiff there. Oh, jeez. Huge whiff. And let's. I made a bunch of mistakes up here, up by the butt, that I knew I was going to have to correct the entire time. This one I knew was coming. Uh, okay, and probably should have done this layer before I did the browns layer. Particularly for this area. This is probably foolish of me. This is probably pretty foolish of me. And make it very thin up here. All right. Okay. And let's get a little bit more in here. And health bud. Hold on, let's get some more ink in here. More ink in here. Let's just get this inked up a little bit. UI actually is enough that losing any significant amount of you would make me sad, so let's try to keep that closed in. And a little bit here. And yeah, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been missing. There we go. That's what I've been missing a little bit of. Yeah. Then a little bit in here. And you. Yeah, you. And along here. Really need to use some ink to make sure that the 3D elements of this, because this is a 3D art form, right? This is a three-dimensional art form. It's not a two-dimensional art form. You need to take advantage of some of the chemical and physical properties of your medium to really get the results you want. And I am attempting, not necessarily succeeding, I don't think, at using the relative viscosity of different sources of color. It's the viscosity and adherence that I'm trying to manipulate right now. I'm trying to use the relative viscosity and adherence to try to get ink into certain locations. and use that to create a sense of depth and shadow that wouldn't be possible with all colors of similar quantities, similar qualities on that. I am going to actually take out a brush I haven't used in a long time. I think it's pretty trash. I feel like this brush is pretty trashed. So I may as well use it for things where I don't need it to get to a good point. So let's try this again. Nope. Failure. Total failure on my part. Total failure on my part. Oh boy. Absolute failure. Harsh. Harsh to fail like that. And all right, and let's see if I can get these silly abs, these ridiculous abs. These are so silly. This ab armor. The ab armor is so silly. Like I mentioned, it would not be effective at. It would not be super effective at protecting from a lot of the threats that an Eldar would be put up against. But of course, that's not really the point, right? Yeah, that's true. So one of those things that, one of those maxims of 40K, of the 40K lore that I've always liked, is that the Imperium of Man is the worst government in human civilization, right? That's like it's the worst government in history. It's the worst of all possible governments. That's like a pretty straightforward statement of intent in the metafiction of the setting and in the fiction of the setting, right? It's a fairly unambiguous statement, is that the Imperium of Man is the worst government that humans have ever had. And I like the part of this thought experiment that is not just the worst government that humans have ever had, including other theoretical governments that could exist in the 40K setting, right? That the Imperium of Man is worse than the Democratic Republic of Man, or the Socialist, or the People's Republic of Man, or the United Soviets of Man, United Social Soviets of Man. Like it's the worst. That's an explicit part of the intent of the setting. Right. And I like to imagine that it's not just the worst government in terms of quality of life, but it's also the worst at fighting war. I like to think that they are the worst at fighting war. That you give 20th century Argentina, one of the most famously stupid governments to have ever existed on this planet, control of the Imperium of Man's resources, and things improve, right? Within 5 years. That's what I think that's a very funny way to think about it. Yes. Yes, I think about that, right, Mix? I think about the fact that with the Imperium, plus the Space Marines plus the Imperial Guard plus the Sisters of Battle, etc., are being basically evenly matched by just defectors from Space Marines. Right, like half of the Space Marines defect, and just by being unshackled from the problems of being part of the Imperium, they are as effective as the Space Marines plus the Imperial Guard plus all the other arms. Like, that's the level of incompetence we're dealing with here, right? But like the sort of thing where if only South Carolina had seceded from the Union and it had won the Civil War, kind of thing. I think this is pretty funny, right? I think it's a pretty funny. So like deep impracticality is like really baked into the setting, and I do sometimes wonder if that's a lot of Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, they'll. And what's interesting is that, like, the main way that they're kind of represented in the tabletop is probably through gene stealer cults, who aren't even defecting to chaos, right? Um, uh, and of course, a funny part about the Marine defectors, from a perspective of a person who mostly watches the game as a game rather than as a lore, uh, is that the is that there was actually a period where Chaos Space Marines were just purely worse than regular Space Marines because regular Space Marines got 2 wounds for like almost a year before Chaos Space Marines did. And that was pretty funny. Um, the Chaos Space Marines are just absolutely extremely nerfed. Yeah, it was like mid 9th edition, I think. It was like mid 9th edition. That feels about right. Oh my goodness. Uh, oh my goodness. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry. I'm noticing some shakes on my end. I played a lot of fantasy battles. Yeah, Blast. I have been. I keep on going back and forth about this. I'm just like not pulling the trigger, partially because it's going to be like a big commitment of resources from me. But I would like to do some tabletop wargaming on the server. And it's a little bit of a frustrating thing that like 40K is the obvious choice because that's like the one that's like the fan favorite. But 40K is actually like one of the least accessible. From a like rules and like gaming standpoint, 40K is actually one of the worst ones to start off with. 40K is like a advanced is actually like kind of an advanced one. And it's like the thing that really distinguishes. I have considered Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade is actually fairly likely. because we've got a bunch of Trench Crusade fans on the server. One of them is actually a big enough fan that he's 3D printed me some models, and we're just trying to figure out how to do a handoff. Oh, okay. That might seal it for me. Because my favorite war games are actually Infinity and Saga. My favorites are actually Infinity and Saga. I like Infinity and I like Saga a lot. And Conquest is probably the next one. Infinity's so cool. Infinity is so cool. I've played a fair amount of Infinity. Infinity is super cool. Infinity, well, they're about to have a new edition. There's a new edition that was supposed to be released like a week ago, and then it got stalled, but it's almost certainly going to get released by the end of the year. So I'm holding off on trying to push further on it until I've gotten a chance to familiarize myself with the 5th edition rules. But Infinity is super cool. And Infinity, I will say that Infinity, a big thing that holds it back is that the rules writers are Spanish primary speakers. Their English is their second language. So there's a couple of explanations in the rulebook that are like, in the 4th edition rulebook, they're just like way more complicated than they need to be. Like way more complicated than they need to be. Okay, I am at a pretty frustrated point where I don't feel like I'm done with this model, but I'm starting to shake a lot. Starting to get really shaky. I don't know if you guys can notice it. I can really notice it. So I will say that Trench Crusade was a kind of fun one in that, like, usually when I look at a rule system for a game, I have a lot of trouble deciding which faction I like the most, and I have to do a ton of research. And with Trench Crusade, I just looked at it for like 5 seconds, and I'm like, I'm all in on Sultanate. It's got to be Sultanate. Sultanate's the coolest one. I was just very easy for me to be like, it's Sultanate. I got it. Yeah. I like skirmishers. I like skirmishers and trading pieces. So in Infinity, I was Hawk Islam. Like in Infinity, I was Hawk Islam all the way. Very little. The only considerations I had in Infinity, other than Hawk Islam, were like the Shot Company, which is Hawk Islam with slightly different units. Like I love my cheap trading pieces. I love skirmishers. Like it's stuff that I can't do in an RTS is a lot of it. Like that's actually a lot of my like reason why I favor those types of strategies in in tactical games. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I can't do it. I'm not like a good micro. I'm not like a good micro nerd in RTSs. So like when I get the chance to do like the micro nerd stuff that I wish I could do in an RTS. In RTSs, I play like brick. You know, I play like bricks is how I tend to play. I tend to play around like making things that have like very few weaknesses and are like very core competent and like really grind people down. But when I get the opportunity in a tabletop game to like be like a big weird micro nerd, I'm like all in on like these like cheap little skirmishers. And there's something, well, and to me there's something very exciting. Again, I like Eldar, right? And like I did like Skaven. I was a Skaven guy. Skaven was my main army, which was a terrible choice for an army. Don't make Skaven your main army. Skaven and Orcs are like the 2 worst choices for fantasy battles. And by extension, Age of Sigmar. Oh yeah, Chaos Dwarfs are great. Chaos Dwarfs rock. But there's something to me that's really exciting about using ambush and surprise to use a bunch of cheap little dudes like this to wipe off a bunch of expensive units. That's something that I find super exciting. I loved it in I love the my favorite move in 40K is a wave serpent full of guardians and just drop them on, dropping them on critical units and shotgunning them. Yeah, it makes me feel cool. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I like doing a little giant toppling. I like doing a little bit of giant toppling. It's cool as hell. Okay. 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 Oh yeah, exactly. No, it makes you nowhere. You are a man after my own heart. I am very much on the same boat. I can't do that stuff in real-time games at all, and so being able to do them uh in a tabletop setting is really liberating and fun for me. Really, really liberating and fun for me. Um, uh, uh, okay. I am sorry to do this relatively early, but I am shaking. Um, I am shaking a lot. Uh, I can't I can't do detail work right now. Um, uh, and cold. And cold. I'm freezing. I am freezing and hungry, and I think there's some hand stress. But I think the cold and hunger have made it quite a bit worse. I need to go lie in some hot water. Let me. I will take suggestions for a raid target. I will take suggestions for a raid target. While I'm doing that, if somebody please, I would love a raid target suggestion. While people are doing that, so again, we hit the 300 goal, which is over. We're at 311. We are almost double my actual goal. Oh, okay, that sounds good. Oh, and Martin Luther King Jr. Beautiful choice. Beautiful choice. Took me a second there um uh to parse that out. Um to parse that out. So we've gotten this far on Subathon, which is incredible and remarkable and makes me feel slightly insane. I would call this an enormous success. I'm just really glad we got to do the model reveal. Other than that, everything else has just been gravy. As I've mentioned a couple times, but I always feel the need to reiterate, the Vex. Oh my goodness, Vex. That's so sweet of you. That's so sweet of you. I am sorry that you came here. While I am trying to wrap up. While I'm trying to wrap up. Although we're going to go to a reading stream. We're going to be going to a reading stream. So you'll probably be happy with that. Oh, and a bear named Mike. Thank you for the follow. A bear named Mike. Thank you for the follow. So yes. So Subathon. Enormous success. You all are ridiculous. Vex is of course ridiculous. I don't know if I should be publishing a leaderboard for what it looks like. I mean, are you saying that just because you know you'll win? Okay, cool. Oh, and she's at a really good part. She's at a really good part. The chat picks things are going to be oh, you're so sweet, Vex. The chat picks items are going to be. I want to do this before Christmas. I would like to do those before Christmas. I would like to do those before Christmas. And I would like to do those all kind of as like one big stream. The spicy ramen stream will be. I'll probably do spicy ramen as part of another stream. The bad fiction is already picked out. I think this is one that Mix is gonna know what I'm going for with that one. Mix is gonna know that fiction. Um, so I'm excited for that one. Rating stream, I meant to do it today. I will have to do it tonight or tomorrow. Set up a submission box for that for the rating stream. Mix, do you know which bad fiction I'm going to do? I think you might be able to figure it out pretty easily just from context clues. But what do you think I'm going for? What do you think I'm going for? Because there's two obvious answers, and it's one of them. It's one of the two obvious answers. And I can tell you that my Immortal's too fucking long, so it's not that one. I'll just tell you. It's Eye of Argon. I'm going to do Eye of Argon. Eye of Argon. Yeah. Eye of Argon. Oh my goodness, yes. It'll be Eye of Argon. Okay, all right. You did. You did. I am too cold to keep painting. I am too cold to keep painting. So I need to leave. I need to. Yeah. My apartment is not well insulated. Ooh, I'm glad, Matthew. I'm glad, Matthew. I didn't know that you streamed. I did not know that you streamed. Let me go over the schedule. Yeah, I need to get into like a warm shower post haste. So ah, too late, too late, too late. So I'm not streaming tomorrow or Wednesday. I am streaming Thursday. I'm doing book club with Grim Glassman. Me and Grim Glassman are going to discuss The Black Prism. And Friday and Saturday, I will not be here. I will not be here. Squeegee. Oh, let me grab her. Let me make sure I get her name right. I don't know what the plan is. Squeegee 3D. So this is who I will be. I will be on this channel. Did the shout out work correctly? Yes. I will be at Squeegee's on Friday. We'll be discussing Outer Wilds and Rome. Because I've been on an Ancient Rome kick, and I have just played through Outer Wilds, and they were very excited about it and wanted to talk with me about, like, how do we understand past societies, and what are the source bases, and what does it mean to have a source base, and discussing in particular how in Echoes of the Eye you have a different source base than you do in the base game. And Saturday, I'm going to be in John Ken Palm's John Ken Pone tournament. Extreme. It's going to be a big collab. Squeegee will also be there. Squeegee, Bonecaller, Vivi, Reina Chapeau. A lot of people are going to be there. Yeah. And then so that's raid message. That's raid message. That is our raid message. We if somebody wants to make a follower raid message, they are welcome to. But yes, so that's my week schedule. Again, we'll be back here Thursday. We will not be here Friday. Friday, I'm going to be at EG's. And Saturday, I'm going to be at John Ken Pones over on YouTube. I will drop links in the Discord. But Discord. If you want to join my Discord, we are active there. I think we and actually, Matthew, you should probably be excited. Mix has convinced me we're going Trench Crusade. We're going Trench Crusade. I need to read the 1.5 rules, but we're gonna go to Trench Crusade as a game. Oh, good choice, Matthew. Good choice, Matthew. So Greymoth is reading Martin Luther King Jr. Hell yes, Martin Luther King Jr. rules. I'm so excited. I'm excited. But also I need to get warm. I love you all. I'm so cold. I will see you all later. Movie night tonight. Also, movie night tonight. We're watching John Wick. Glitchica is coming over so we can watch John Wick because she loves John Wick and that's the sort of thing that actually gets her out of bed is John Wick. So we will see you there later tonight, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern.